Welcome to Prime Space, a Prime Coaching Academy podcast with your host, Elias Scultori. So, you probably heard that the ICF has 3 different levels of certification. ACC, Associate Certified Coach, PCC, Professional Certified Coach, and MCC, Master Certified Coach. What does that mean? What's the difference? Why 3 different levels of certification? What is behind them? This is what I would love to talk about here today. And my goal here for bringing this podcast to you is to hopefully bring an excitement to you about this journey. It's so beautiful to see the progression and how we in the coaching community have created this path of development for a professional coach. Coaching is not simply something that we take a little training and then we get certified and off we go. Coaching is ongoing. We are never done. We are always growing. We are always polishing. We are always discovering. And here comes this beautiful path that we as a community created to give us some sort of a framework for this journey of development as a coach. And this is what I would love to talk about with you. How can I verbalize this in a way that puts these concepts in a nutshell for you and also excites you? But before we go there, I want to say one thing. I take my job as a coach educator and as a mentor, supervisor very seriously. I'm a firm believer that the job of a coach educator is not simply to give you the core competencies. You know, the ICF has a bunch of lists, right? We have the list of the core competencies. We have the list of the that was created specifically for assessors, the list of the ACC bars, the PCC markers, the MCC bars. These 3 lists are guideposts or supporting the assessor in assessing recordings for certification. It's an assessor's tool, right? And then we have the list of the minimal skills requirement, which gives tries to summarize in a way what are the expectations for each one of these levels of certification. So all of these lists, and if I simply give you the list, it's going to be overwhelming to you. It's huge. There are so many concepts and ideas behind all of these phrases, and if you just by looking at the list, you're going to get overwhelmed about that. So I take my job very seriously, as I am the translator for you. It is my job to be fully grounded and know these lists very in depth. And then how am I going to put these lists, the concepts of these lists to you, present this to you so that it's manageable, it's usable, it's alive, it's organic. And I want you to keep in mind that this is my way of verbalizing it. This is not finite. This is not absolute. On the contrary, these are just a few concepts, foundational concepts, for you to become curious and explore even deeper what it truly means to be operating at these different levels of certification. Let's talk about ACC, as Associate Certified Coach. So the expectation, my understanding here, the expectation for a coach that is operating at ACC level, and I put this in 3 little bullet points. First of all, there is an expectation that this coach understands what coaching is, and that this coaching is operating as a coach, not as a consultant, not as a mentor, not as an advisor, not as a teacher, not as a therapist. That this coach understands coaching, and this coach is operating as a coach. The second thing that is expected at ACC, that I notice it is expected at ACC level, is that you understand that you have a basic grasp of the coaching framework. You understand that there is a beginning, middle, and end of a coaching conversation, and you are able to support the client into going through this beginning, middle, and end. What is the focus of the coaching conversation? What do you need for the conversation here? What is the expectation that you want for this conversation that we are going to have? You go through a process of development, and at the end of the coaching conversation, you support the client into a movement forward. What is the action? What are you going to do moving forward? Right? There is a rudimentary, if I can use that word, a clear understanding that there is form, that there is a framework, and you're able to demonstrate that. The third point at ACC level that I think it's very important is the idea that you are already mastering language, in a coaching language. Your questions are clearly, intentionally open-ended. There is a succinctness of language. You are giving space to the client for the client to process. The spotlight is not on you. Your language is streamlined enough, and we can see that you are bringing a certain level of intentionality around your language, so that the coaching process can really flow. So these are the 3 points that I usually think of ACC level coaching. Ready to go to PCC, the professional certified coach? So if a coach is demonstrating that, what else? Isn't this it? No, there is a lot more, right? This is just ACC. At PCC level, I feel that the number one, especially after we created the PCC markers, I see PCC as the coach really understands the science, the technique, the form of the coaching conversation, and is able to demonstrate this form, this framework of the coaching conversation, the technique of coaching conversation with no doubt. There is no question that this coach understands and is able to demonstrate the technique, the framework of the coaching conversation beautifully. There is complete command of the technique of coaching. That is number one for me at PCC level. So framework is absolutely crucially present. Session agreement, language is polished, open-ended questions, the understanding of the distinction between different questions that support the client into examining the present, questions that support the client into imagining the beyond. There is truly a command of these skills, supporting the client into a movement forward, into action. It's not simply like, what are you going to do? But there is a whole support of the planning. So the technique of coaching is really clear, and this coach is able to show and demonstrate that. Besides that, that's not enough. Besides that, at PCC level, all of this technique is serving the client. Is supporting the coach in supporting the client to have a depth of exploration. So it's the coach is really being able to demonstrate that they can use these skills that they have command over to support the client into a deeper level of exploration and a deeper level of insight. Okay, so those are the 2 points and you can see that they are loaded, right? Those are the 2 points that I think it's very important at PCC level. Okay, so if the coach has command over technique and bringing the client into a depth of exploration, what else is there? Oh, then is where the magic happens. And it's so interesting because the gap between PCC to MCC is huge. And it's huge, in my point of view, because now it's the time for the coach to go beyond the technique and integrate. The way I see MCC, Master Certified Coach, is where all of the training, all of the experience that the coach has gathered now becomes a part of who we do and how we show up. It's the artistry of coaching. At PCC, there is no question about the technique of coaching. At MCC, there is no question about the mindset of coaching. Here, the coach has fully embodied the concepts of coaching, and it's living these concepts in front of the client. It's really mastery. It's really a place where the coach is so much at ease in the balance between the form and the flow, the science and the art of coaching, to be at service for the client. One of the metaphors or stories that I teach my students around this process of learning and developing our coaching skills and mindset is similar to when we learn how to drive a car. At first, when we start driving a car, there are so many things to think about. The clutch, and especially a stick shift, right? You have the clutch, you have the gas, you have the brakes, you have the gear, you have to steer, and the wheel, and you have the mirror, that you have to look, and the pedestrian and the signs. There's so many things. But the more you do this, then you become more at ease with this, to the point that you are able to drive on a highway with lots of cars around you, and you are having a conversation with someone who is in the passenger seat, and you are operating and utilizing the car without even thinking about it. That is what happens at MCC, in my point of view. We are in such a flow, and it's not that we forgot the concepts of coaching and the foundational skills of coaching, but these concepts are so ingrained in us that we no longer have to think about them. They will show up naturally because, of course, we're going to bring this to our clients. That's the mastery, the artistry of coaching. And I hope that this excites you and gives you the energy, the intentionality to pursue this journey. Imagine the value that we can bring to our clients when we are operating at that level. That's so beautiful and humane. And this is our challenge that we have. And I hope that you embrace that challenge and continue this journey with me. Thank you so much for inviting me to walk this journey with you. And I am excited to support you and learn from you along the way. So thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode. And I will be back next week with more thoughts and more insights. I am looking forward to hearing from you. Send me an email, elias@primecoachingacademy.com, and let me know what you think of these episodes and what else you would like me to cover during these conversations. Don't forget to subscribe and giving us a review. Also, remember that Prime Coaching Academy has a new YouTube channel, and where you can listen to these episodes and more. There are several other videos there for you and to support you in your coach training as well. Otherwise, everybody, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week. Take good care.